So Dave Basu is an author, speaker, and founder who helps B2B, SaaS, and technology companies with their growth marketing strategy. And he's globally recognized as an expert in SaaS. I'm also not sure if I'm saying that correctly.
SaaS. That's
Okay,
how it's
SaaS
pronounced.
demand
Yeah.
generation. Okay, thank you so much. SEO and paid acquisition. And since 2009, he's led the growth of Powered by Search, which is a B2B SaaS marketing agency that helps SaaS companies like ClickFunnels, Reltio, and health systems scale demos and trials with some of the world's most in-depth expertise in SaaS paid acquisition and SEO. In addition to speaking and leading workshops, Dev is also the author of his upcoming book, Predictable Growth. I want a copy with your signature in it, please, to be published in 2022. And Dave has also spoken at Google, Traffic and Conversion, SaaS North, Microsoft, SaaS Academy, Inbound Con, Search Engine Strategies, Search Marketing Expo, Interactive Advertising Bureau, Mastermind Talks, and the Global Path. So just a reminder, Dave's going to be presenting, and then we're going to have a Q&A session. Dave,
Awesome. Oh, wonderful. Well, it's so exciting to be here. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I'm in some great company, and I hope you've been enjoying some of the sessions that you've been having yesterday and today. What we're going to be talking today about is B2B software as a service marketing. It's the industry that Powered by Search and us picked and have grown, and frankly, have been so grateful to be part of in terms of both an industry and the community as well. What I want to do is show you is, as you are, I'm an alum now from UTSC, like 10 years plus running. And so I graduated in 2009, ex Microsoft through the co-op program, and then continued working in technology companies, fell in love with marketing for technology companies as well. And then over the last 11 or 12 years of running a consulting and agency business, have really honed in on, working from many different types of companies to really only narrowing down to focus on B2B software as a service and technology companies, including, if you're watching this on EventMobi right now, they're a client of ours as well. And so if you think about any kind of technology that, we use today, Zoom technology company, a lot of the text messages you get on your phone are from a company called Twilio. That's the underlying tech that basically powers it. You spend time on YouTube. So if you think about the FANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google, and so on, we use technology every single day. And what the beautiful part about that is really figuring out sort of where can you take place as a marketer as you start making some career choices. What I'm going to try and do is really, I'm going to try and encourage you to choose B2B SaaS as the type of industry that you go into. So hopefully you can see that okay on your end. And so the question really becomes, could you be a B2B SaaS marketer? Should you choose this? And how could you grow your career in really less than the next 5 years? Let's kind of dive into what that actually even might look like for you. And so as we start thinking about this, and you're thinking about, like, should I go work for Coke or Pepsi or for Microsoft or Google, and you're trying to choose where you might land up. I remember when I was in my third or fourth year of the management program at U of T Scarborough, I was thinking, man, I mean, there's just so many great companies I could go into. And this was before I chose to go down the entrepreneurial road. Maybe some of you are thinking about that yourself. You want to start your own startup at some point in time. Well, when you do, you're going to need some marketing chops to be able to grow that. My talk specifically about how to go about thinking about this. And so if you think about the career journey that you're really on and you're about to embark on right now, the typical or traditional way of thinking about this is, you start out in a way where you're really a generalist, and we're going to signify that with the G. So, you start off as really broad in terms of the types of work that you might be doing, and you may end up spending time somewhere between a year to 3 years in your marketing role, working through being a generalist. The next step up from that is being a specialist. And a specialist is where, you find sort of your T-shaped expertise, a lot of broad things that you really do well, and then you find something that you really love. And maybe that's writing content or working on social media or building out conversion rate optimization and landing page programs and things like that. That's where you find a specialism. And then finally, at a certain point, you become the expert. People come to you and you develop a reputation in your industry for being able to do that. Now, That sounds well and good. So why is it on the left? Now the thing is that you start off in terms of your expertise. If we were to denote that, not a lot of expertise over here, building expertise down over here, and then finally when you get to the expert level, wow, like people are really coming to you. So it's kind of like a traffic light, slow in the beginning and then fast and flowing sort of as you pick up some speed. So again, what's the issue? The problem I think over here is that this whole process can feel really linear. And so, typically speaking, to go from generalist to expert in the traditional sphere of marketing, even if you frankly are working in B2B services companies as opposed to technology companies that sell a product, that can take 10 years. So the question really for you is, are you willing to wait 10 years to be able to go from here to there? And if the answer is no, if you really want to focus on a non-linear path, that's what I'm hoping to spark in you today, to actually check out software as a service, because software is eating the world. And by that, what I mean is that it is growing at a fast pace. So you think about industries or verticals like e-commerce, which grew, 10 years of digital transformation basically happened in 1 year last year in the pandemic. Software is one of those specific types of sectors where the spending and investment and the technology continues growing at an exponential pace and will continue to do so, even despite really any type of act of God, essentially, or a type of, a black swan event like the pandemic. And so software companies grew throughout the pandemic. They'll grow this year. In fact, over the next 2 years, there's going to be a 40% increase in the amount of spending that happens there. So as you think about that, as organizations spend more and more money on software as a service, and if you haven't heard that term before, all it means is that you're paying for technology or as a platform, as a business, you're paying for it. And you're really being able to do this on a month over month over month basis. Sometimes it's paid for the entire year, but you're really leasing the software, you're renting it as it becomes better and better over time. I don't know how many of you remember using like a CD-ROM, which software used to come on. And if you've used something like Adobe Photoshop, for example, you might have got that on a CD-ROM, installed it, and you'd have the version, and that's it. To be able to upgrade would be buying it all over again. SaaS really starts to challenge that model in so many ways where there is nothing to download. It's just available to you in your browser to be able to use. And that's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. There's nothing to maintain, there's no servers. And so that's one of the main reasons why it's really taken off in the last about 10 to 15 years. It's still a young industry. It started off really by a company called Salesforce, who challenged the norm in terms of why do you need to buy CD-ROMs or DVDs to be able to deploy your software and maintain your own server? What if you could just access a CRM, a customer relationship management platform, through the browser? So this is sort of where, if you think about the traditional, you can really get to this idea of like a 10-year journey. What would a non-linear track basically look like? And sometimes, as you'll talk to speakers who are part of this particular event, and as we look back at our career track, many of us have a zigzag path in the career track. You're at the start of it. So how do you build it in a way which is non-linear, which is really the opportunity? If you want a non-linear track, here's how you begin. I'm going to kind of give you a sense of the roles and titles actually that are available. Instead of trying to work, operate in a red ocean where there's lots of competition, B2B SaaS actually allows you to have roles and titles that didn't exist, frankly, even a couple of years ago. One of them, which you might know if you guys spend any time on Reddit or on Twitter, memes. Memes have been a huge component of 2020 and into 2021 as well, including the fact, and I know it sounds funny, but there are companies in the media and publishing space right now who realize the power, the social virality of memes and the ability to come up with them. They're hiring chief meme officers. Now, I'm not asking you to go out and be a chief meme officer, but what I am sharing with you is that there's a path over here where you can go from a channel specific role. So for example, if you heard of PPC or SEO as a channel, a content role, a social media role over here, and then you move into a growth role And then you can move into something called a Rev Ops role. And what that basically means is you start out very similar to being the generalist, but now instead of having generalist knowledge, you really focus on something that you can get really great at. Either writing content, building social platforms, or building communities, or working on paid ads. And then from there, you take your knowledge and you basically go to growth. And then from there, you can build the bridge between marketing and sales. That's how you can get to RevOps. And that's really the beauty of being able to connect the dots between the marketing, initiatives that you're actually doing and what it actually creates on the other end. You can actually see the bottom line. One of the things that you'll see as you start talking to people who are, who've been in an industry for 10 years, they'll say to you that at certain times I felt like a cog in the wheel. I didn't know what my contribution was. The beauty of B2B SaaS is it's very measurable. Every click can get tied to $1, the same way that e-commerce can as well, by the way. So it's another great industry. But if I'm kind of going to bat for B2B SaaS, you can take that entire 10-year journey and cut it in half, into a 5-year type of journey. And the reason why is because there's so much demand for this type of skill set rather than the role that you can literally go from, effectively a starting out light green, and you'll learn so much faster that you can then start accelerating to a growth role. And before you know it, you're working on RevOps. So there is no sense of slowness. It's a very fast-paced industry. And the nice thing about that as well is that your earning potential kind of goes along with it as well. So if you're thinking about the bridge, this gap between the two, one of the things that we see a lot is whatever your base level income is as you start getting into an industry, sometimes you can go up by, I'll call it, somewhere between 1 to 2%, which is not great. If you're really good, it might be 5%, right? To be able to improve your earning ability as well as your contribution. What you can really do with B2B SaaS is that these realms over here can have 10 to 20% increases, if not more. And so unless you have a computer science degree, and on the other side, on the engineering side, you certainly see this happen. But this is now becoming available and accessible to you guys as marketers. So it's really, really powerful. That's why I want to kind of showcase the opportunity basically to you. Now I want to talk a little bit about why, right? Why these technology companies and what happens? Where can you come in and even help them? And so if you think about the way that, if you put results here and you put time over here, and any of you, by the way, if you're investing in the stock market, at least over the last 5 to 10 years, you might have noticed that tech stocks tend to outperform other industries. The valuations, the multiples are really high. The reasons why is because the tech businesses actually have this ability to look forward a couple of years, the next year, the following year, and have a predictability to their revenue, which makes them really attractive to investors. Now, similarly, if you're working at a company, here's the opportunity. Most companies, and we'll call it, SaaSco, whatever the SaaS company's name really is. And sometimes it's going to be a big company, sometimes it can be a small one, including it being a startup. So let's talk about startups for a second, because they might actually be the easiest entry point for you to work at. Even if you want to start one, most people think that the line between results and time looks a little bit like this. And actually, this couldn't be further from the truth. What ends up happening, actually, is the line looks, frankly, a lot more like that. It's not quite a hockey curve and it's not quite a straight line. It's just this gentle curve. And if you are, this guy over here, stuck to a rock face, so that's where the company's at, you need two things to be able to make the company grow. You need a great product, and that's a precursor. And then you need a strategy to get people to know about it. And that's really where marketing comes in. It's a one-to-many mechanism to be able to generate demand, go out and find these people who have a specific problem that the product can actually come in and solve. But here's actually what ends up happening. And if you think about this, this area over here, this sort of hook point where this guy's, he's basically strapped onto the cliff face. This amount of effort basically makes it feel like the company's put in 80% of the work developing the product and only gotten 20% of the results. So it feels like it's a lot of hard work for not a lot of results. And that's why, SaaS companies frequently spend so much time on product. These don't spend enough time on marketing. And that's where your opportunity really comes in. Your opportunity is to come in and be the hero for these companies to be able to help them grow. Because where they get stuck is at this 3/4 mark. Being South Asian, when I entered the industry, my parents basically said to me and my family that they're like, first of all, you want to be an entrepreneur. That's risky. You want to be in tech. That's risky. Why don't you go work for a more stable company that's been around for like 50, 100 years? And one of the things that I said to them is like, well, the risk, it's not just risk, there's a reward component over here as well. And a lot of these companies actually get stuck at this mark over here, and it's called the 3/4 mark, where they've invested a lot of work and they frankly have not seen a lot of results. And often what ends up happening, including startups, they are, by the way, risky. Most don't make it. But they can be a fertile sort of place for you to learn. And that's really where you can end up having sort of them quit over here. There's a percentage of them, however, that continue to ride this curve and go up. And really, what they're really looking for is, how do I get to this next area? Because that's the next stage of growth. That's the opportunity where you really come in. Now, you might have heard the word growth hacking. And so if you think about sort of where they want to go, they really want to grow up like this. And sometimes there's some tactical things. I think Shaker was talking about don't mess with algorithms just for the sake of it, because YouTube will change what they're doing, and that's certainly true. There's a secret sauce or a recipe to it. And so if you go invest in growth hacks, which are incredibly sort of tactical, what ends up happening is that they kind of fall short. As you can see, they fall actually short of the 80% mark. And so that's actually no good. We don't want that. What we want instead is really to be able to come in and start working at these companies, helping them grow to be able to get them to this green line area, basically over here. That's a little bit about the opportunity. I want to talk to you a little bit about how to choose a company, because they may seem like they're all the same on the surface, or they may seem exciting. So we want to kind of talk about a framework for that. And so if you think about it, there's two types of things over here. There's a level of marketing that you can have and a level of product. If you think about that, your job really is, how do you come in and help them from a marketing standpoint? And your marketing can either be, it could be sort of market leading, or it could be untested. And the same thing happens on the other side as well. Your product could be untested, or it could be a market leading product. So here's who you want to stay away from, okay? If you end up having a market leading product, right? Like you have untested marketing, what you really end up having is a hidden diamond. These are the companies where if you go talk to the founder, and by the way, you can just message them on LinkedIn and you'll find that most founders will be very happy to chat with you. They have a hidden diamond. And if you really message them and say, hey, I've had a look at your site, your blog, I see a couple of opportunities in your ads, and you can learn this stuff, by the way. It's available for free on YouTube, or if you come to our site, poweredbysearch.com/blog, we have the largest library of B2B SaaS marketing content that at least we know of. We just give away the farm in terms of how we do, multi-million-dollar consulting every single year. And most of our clients are our six-figure clients going into the low seven figures. We publish everything we do for them. So find a company that is a hidden diamond. Here's who you want to stay away from. If you have a company where the product is untested and the marketing is untested, what you really have is somebody who's got blind faith. Avoid these companies, because really what's happening over there is you have a company that's effectively kind of gambling. There's a lot of hype and a lot of sizzle, but not a lot of substance. So you want to stay away from those. If you have great marketing, but a poor product, you want to stay away from those companies as well, because they are a reputational risk. So stay away from these companies as well. But down here, that's pretty good. And then up here is really where you want to be as you grow from a PPC or SEO or content or social media type of role into a growth role, into a RevOps role. Find companies who are an economic engine. These are the guys who are close to an IPO or have IPO'd and have grown over time. They're doing great. Find those folks to be able to work with. And what you'll find is there's actually a level even above this. And what you want to go look for is folks who have a product that is an 8 or above, and you want to come in and help them have marketing that is an 8 or above as well. Okay? This is really where the unicorns basically are. If you want to work at a Facebook, a Google, an Apple, other types of tech companies basically like that, you're going to need to go from really like this. This would be your ideal career path. Start at a hidden diamond, move into an economic engine, and then go work for a unicorn. 5 years, you can actually do a lot of good and make a very large impact being able to do this as well. Angela, I want to check in with you. From an agenda standpoint, does it make sense to take questions now, or does it make sense for me to share a little bit more as well? I know we only have about half an hour.
I think you can finish up and then we'll move on to questions. We should be able to get this done.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Let me see what else I want to share with you. I actually want to share a set of strategies with you in terms of figuring out how to focus on an area, because sometimes it can be so broad. How do you zoom in and figure out what you actually like doing? And so we created this we call it a genius model, and the idea really is this: if you want an unstoppable SaaS business, there are three things that you need, and this is the math of B2B SaaS marketing. Okay, you need a way to be able to have a high LTV. LTV stands for lifetime value. Said plainly, what it simply is how long does a customer continue paying for your product? So as an example, I'll use one on the consumer side that I'm sure a lot of you pay for: Spotify or Apple Music or Netflix. The fact that you've been paying them $10 a month for the last 36 months, the last 3 years, means that you are worth 10 times 36 basically to them. That's your LTV. So you want a company where your lifetime value is always growing over time. You want a company where the cost of acquisition is decreasing or stable over time. And then finally, you want one where there's enough lead flow. That's what we call quality pipeline certainty. Pipeline can come in two ways. If you've ever been to a software website and either put your credit card down or just signed up for a free trial for some sort of software, that's called a trial or product-led growth company. And then this is probably less common, but maybe if you've done some co-op terms where you've evaluated a software vendor or a company, maybe you filled out a form for requesting a demo and had a conversation where they did a walkthrough through their particular platform. That's known as pipeline, where the idea is how many leads are we getting in, how are we working those leads, and what's the revenue coming out the other end. Now for you, the specific areas that you might want to focus on are as follows, okay? So you've got areas for building authority. So if you love content and writing, that's a huge area for growth over the next couple of years. There aren't enough writers who are good at being able to understand the product and write in a compelling way, which drives people to prospects to action. So building authority is all about creating content. Creating demand is all about creating a way of being able to get traffic. And so the most popular ways of being able to do that is either to pay for it, Facebook ads, Google ads, Bing ads, Twitter ads, and so on, LinkedIn ads, and so on. And then the other way is to be able to earn it, which is where your content starts ranking on something like a Google, for example, and that's known as SEO, or search engine optimization. Search engine optimization actually is a course that I've been teaching at UTSC for now at least the last 10 years, and at a couple of other institutions basically as well. Fill funnel about conversion rate optimization. So this is about creating a beautiful user experience that is intuitive, clear, and compelling. So there you have it. Even in just the way that you attract, there are three different disciplines or areas that you can really jump into. Over here, if you love words and just in general the English language, and you like the way that you can communicate to people, the key things that I want you to know about anything in B2B is you have to answer three questions. Why buy anything? Why buy from the specific company that you're trying to promote? So why buy you? And then why buy now? If you can answer those three questions, you will have engaged your customers in a way where you can pinpoint your pain. One of the things we say is that if you can articulate your customer's pain better than they can, they'll tend to trust you. You want to educate and motivate them, because just like anything else on the web these days, people are doing research before they ever talk to a company. So you want to teach them what to look for and what to look out for and how to buy. And then finally, you actually want to give them a next step. I'm sure you've seen a lot of content that might be, where you looked at it and you go, well, oh, that's interesting. But what you really want to be is useful, because interesting content can be ignored. Useful content will actually help you solve a challenge. The way you do that on the web is using something called a call to action. And a calibrated call to action is just a thoughtful call to action that you really want to go into. Beyond that, if you have aspirations of bridging the gap between marketing and sales, if you want to spend some time actually talking to customers, getting them on board and selling them, that's where this really comes in. But for the most part, if you're thinking about B2B SaaS marketing, ways to get traffic, ways to have it become sticky, and ways for people to raise their hand so they want to actually either try the product or talk to somebody in sales, that's really where it's at. I think I'm going to pause over there, see what questions you guys might have, and spend some time on that. So over to you, Angela.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. I definitely learned an insane amount about B2B and SaaS marketing. We got a couple questions queued up. So to start off with, for a SaaS company, what strategies currently work for demand generation?
You should start demand gen as soon as you have something called product market fit. Product market fit is simply that your product is a useful platform that solves a real problem demonstrated by people buying your product. That's why you get that. So you're starting to generate demand gen right from the very get-go, because that is effectively how you get revenue to begin with, right? A company who's got a great product with no revenue isn't going to last very long. So demand gen from day one, really.
Thank you so much. The next couple questions are kind of geared towards hiring or recruiting. So what are the most important attributes / qualities that you would look for when you're hiring early talent?
Yeah, so really, what early talent is tabula rasa, right? A blank slate in many ways. So the things where we look for, at least, is people who come with their batteries included. What I mean by that is people who are curious, people who are resourceful, who have demonstrable critical thinking skills. I think the age of interviews asking how many pennies does it take to stack up to the CN Tower, it's gone. Even Google, who used to ask those questions, they're not asking that anymore. Really, what they're looking for is how do you think through problems and how resourceful are you at solving those problems yourself. So we look for that in early talent, because we can teach the skills but not the traits.
For sure. I'm sure that's incredibly helpful for anyone who's currently seeking right now. And a bit along that vein, what's the best advice that you've ever received from a marketing mentor?
Ask for leads and you'll get advice. Ask for advice and you will get leads. And so it's very counterintuitive when it comes to that, because you'll be looking for the types of things that I've seen new grads struggle with a lot, is a lot of what they don't have. I don't have connections. I don't have a reputation. I don't have a great resume. I don't have a great track record. And so they ask for those things. Hey, can you connect me to somebody who's hiring? And the person goes, I don't know anybody, but I'll keep you in the loop. And then you don't hear back from them. That's asking for a lead. Ask for advice instead. And so what you'll find is that, especially in tech, senior executives are very giving of their time. So if you literally had a very specific question, don't go ask somebody if they can be your mentor. They do not need more free time, essentially, to provide to you. But if you said, hey, I have a very specific question about how company X is approaching problem Y. I'm working on this for my career as well. Here's my question. Please reply back by email. If you don't have the time, that's completely okay too. Thanks for reading this, or thanks for carving out the time. You'd be surprised how many people would actually get back to you if you did that. So ask for advice and you'll get leads. Ask for leads and you'll just get advice.
All right, I think with that, we are coming up to the end of the session. So I just wanted to say a big thank you again for speaking to us. And as a new grad myself, I definitely learned a lot of stuff about things that I can take into my next couple of interviews. So thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.